I'd like to present a project called Buddy that we've been working on for the past year, which might be of interest for some of you, which is a way of bridging the gap between users, between persons with a cognitive disability and assistive technology that suits their needs, and also between producers of assistive technology and people and users who might need this technology. Just, for example, persons with a reading impairment or with a writing impairment or with problems of understanding text and natural language. And yeah, without further ado, let me discuss first of all, well, as I said, the goal of the project is to bridge the gap between persons with a cognitive disability and how they can find suitable assistive technology for their needs, but also to get producers, vendors of assistive technology to their users. And this project came after we did some research on the market. We asked several persons with a cognitive disability, namely we carried out an online study, and 88 persons answered. 88 persons with some sort of cognitive disability, either lower intelligence or some sort of, or people in the spectrum, maybe people with Asperger's or with autism, reading problems and things like that. We asked them how they usually find AT. We see on the right some of the answers. We saw that actually almost half of the users, they find the assistive technology by themselves individually. This can be very challenging. And more or less the other half get support by either friends or relatives, so no, by technical experts, or a minority by actually support people, right, by carers. So we covered a wide spectrum of cognitive disabilities. And another result we got is that only 32% of these persons use assistive technology. So there is definitely an important gap. People with a cognitive disability have trouble finding the assistive technology for them. And we asked those of them who actually use assistive technology. We asked them, where do they got their AT? And we saw that AT users are the most likely ones to respond for themselves, and that those who do not find the AT, they need more help in responding. So, in summary, it seems that not having access, not knowing how to find assistive technology seems to limit the independence of these persons. But even when when users have supporters, when they have carers, when they have experts, sometimes even these people, these helpers, do not have the knowledge of which AT exists in the market. And so there is definitely some need for matching users to AT and carers to AT, and also providers. Then we also ask them which cognitive needs are covered by the AT they use. We see that 64% of our users, of the people we interviewed, need some sort of reading support. This is the biggest amount of support users need. That it's followed by writing support, which is asked by 43% of our interviews. 36% need help with understanding, and then less than 1/4 needs help with math, with simple math, with calculation, with focusing on tasks. A lot of them also need memory support, 1/3 almost, because they tend to forget what they are reading. And also many users need help with time management and choices. And similarly to this question, we also asked them which types of AT they use. We see that 50% of them use spell checkers. Almost half of them use technologies that change the presentation of text. For example, the size of the text, the font, or the color. Here we are mostly talking about people using web browsers, right? So people accessing the web. Then more than 1/3 use some sort of text-to-speech software that reads aloud the text they are reading to them. More than 1/3 use a dictionary of some sort, for example, a browser extension that tells them the definition of words in web pages. Also, more than 1/4 use text simplification tools that simplify the contents of the text. So, for example, if a word is hard to understand, these kind of tools, they make the word, they translate the word into an easier word. 1/4 use a picture dictionary that help them in understanding the text by adding pictures on top of the text. 21% need some sort of reading support, for example, a ruler that allows them to follow in which line they are reading at the moment. 21% also need design or content simplification. For example, they use tools that remove all the toolbars, all the menus, the advertisements, and so on, and they can focus only on what they are reading right now, on the content of the website. 21% use some sort of reminder or agenda. Similarly, 18% use a thought organizer, and 14% use speech recognition for inputting data into their computer. Then we also realize that most users use more than one tool. So for example, here we can see that only 29% of users, of AT users, of assistive technology users, use only one tool. Actually, the majority is almost more than 70% use 2 or more tools in combination. So it would be also very useful for them to get information on hybrid tools, because maybe there exist tools already in the market that can do those things and they don't have to use more than one tool. So they can use a more advanced tools that covered all their needs instead of having to use different things. So this is also another gap in the market where it would be great to offer them the possibility of searching for such hybrid tools. Then we also ask them how do they obtain their AT. We see that only a minority of them use a government agency or they obtain them through the school or employer. Actually, the majority say that they bought it or they downloaded it themselves. This can be a bit misleading because maybe some of the persons reported that they downloaded the AT for free, but maybe they actually are using some license offered by the government. So but at least we can see that most users, at least they report that they don't go directly to a government agency or to a specialist, but they try to find the tools by themselves. So again, such a system that enables people to find the tools by themselves seems to be of great help. Then we also ask them how difficult it is for them to find assistive technology. And we can see here the answers to the right. And if we sum up the people who had some sort of problem finding IT, we see that over 2/3, 76% reported having trouble finding IT. So target users, they are aware that they have trouble finding this IT. And they also reported that not having the knowledge or not having available AT are very important factors in their this discovery. So it is very important to get them obtain this knowledge about which AT exists in the market and how to find it and how to install it, and giving them clear instructions of what is available and how they can use it. Then we also ask them which reasons they have for not using assistive technology. And 51% of them reported that they are not using assistive technology because they don't know how to find it. So if we sum up here, the people who said that it's difficult or they don't know how to find a tool or they don't know how to find one that works, we see that this is more than half of the responses. So it's not that the users are not interested, it's that they don't know how to find the suitable AT. And moreover, we also ask them if they know how to find an AT, a tool, and 38% said that they do not even know where to search for it. So the conclusions from this survey is that the majority of potential users do not know where to find IT, even if the IT is already out there in the market, it exists. Only a minority, an expert minority, know how to search for tools for their needs, even though they would like to be able to search for that. So therefore, letting users be autonomous in searching, letting users find the tools they need by themselves would be greatly beneficial. And I didn't cover them, but some additional issues we found is that users report not knowing how to install a tool. So even if they find the tool, they don't know how to install it or they don't know how to use it. They need more clear instructions on how to do these things. Related, they need a clear list of functions and availability of the AT. There is a significant gap in the AT provision system, so there is a huge lack of training. There is a huge lack for support, supporting users. Users are very often left to their own means. Yeah, related, there is a latency in regard to user needs. Very often, users themselves cannot express their needs, so we need more intelligent systems that are able to somehow infer the needs of the users without asking explicitly the users what they need. And yeah, so this was an interview with end users. We also interviewed AT tool producers, so the vendors, the companies producing these tools. We interviewed 3 AT producers of different sizes, from 10 employees to more than 100 employees. So these 3 companies covered a wide range of companies. First of them, we asked them several questions. This is here, I'm just highlighting a few of them. First of all, we asked them which channels they use to reach target users. And they answered, that they usually employ, mostly they reported using social media, such like Facebook or Instagram, especially for reaching their users. They also reported using direct channels, for example, seminars or webinars, where they present their solutions. Surprisingly, they also said that word of mouth is a very common way how they reach their target users. So if a user is satisfied with their product, they hope that they will talk to other persons, and in this manner, their tools will be more used. And none of them reported using any kind of specialized platform to get in touch with users. So they use very indirect channels, as we can see here. We also asked them if it's difficult for them to reach target users, organizations, and all companies, even the bigger ones, reported finding it difficult, or at least partially difficult. There is anyways an inverse correlation between difficulty and company size. Bigger companies have it easier because they already have, they have marketing departments and they have more budget, of course. But even the bigger companies reported that it's not that easy to reach target users. We asked them if they think that potential users are aware of their tools and how they may benefit from it. And all companies agree that there are many potential users who are not aware of their products. So there is a huge potential. There is a lot of potential users who are potentially there, but who simply cannot find these tools. And the reason some of these companies told us is because the end users are usually not the customers. So even if end users, as we saw before, they report a very big interest, in the end, they are not the ones buying the AT. So again, it seems to be beneficial to get in touch, to put in touch these AT companies and the end users directly. End users try to find tools, and tool producers try to sell their tools to the target users, but there is a mismatch at the moment. There is a gap.
Thomas, a question from the audience. They ask, do users interact with software editors to do feedback?
Not directly. I think also this is also something, but surprisingly, companies said that, I think we talked with the biggest one, and they said that that they usually don't receive much feedback from users. So this is also there seems to be a huge lack of communication there between companies and users. And yeah, we also asked them if they think that including the assistive technology into a repository would help them reach a wide user base. If companies think that the existence of an accessible repository where target users can try it and at least they can search for tools, if that would be beneficial. And all companies agreed that such a platform could help if it was properly developed, if it worked. And all companies said that they would be willing to include their products, even if they had to pay for that. So they said that, I mean, of course, the repository has to be well developed, it has to work, it has to have enough users. But if that was the case, then all companies are willing to input their tools into the system, and they are even willing to pay some fee for being in that repository. And so, yeah, as a result of all this market research we did, we decided that there was the need for a centralized solution, and we came up with Buddy, with our project, which is an accessible web application. It's already out. It's very new. It just came out last month, and it's accessible. You can access it using that URL on the screen. And it consists of an online repository for assistive technology that supports cognitive disabled people. And it's also an intelligent recommender of AT suited to the user's needs. So we will see now how users can create their profiles, how AT providers can upload their solutions, and we will see how Buddy matches the AT provider to the target user to the tool uploaded by a provider. I'm going to start showing how Buddy works for a producer, for a company that creates an assistive technology. Here I will show you live, but let me go first through the workflow. In order to ensure the quality of the ATs, we have several moderators in the tool, which are in the repository, which are experts. These are people who publish the AT entries that an AT vendor, a person might upload. So the AT vendor or a responsible person, they create an account in the system. Then they ask the moderator for permissions. If the moderator gives the permissions to them, then they can log into the system and they start creating entries into the system. They can translate those entries into, at the moment we support English, German, and Swedish, but we are planning to add more languages in the future. So they can add one description for all languages that they support, and the system will detect automatically the language of the user, and it will show the description in that language to the user. Then they can also add which kind of ATs they are entering. So for example, if it's a mobile app, if it's a browser extension, if it's a desktop app, which kind of license it uses. We will take a closer look later. And they can publish different revisions, so they can keep their ATs updated at all times. Then this revision is accepted by a moderator, and then once it's accepted, it's available to end users. So yeah, we can take a quick look at how that is done. So I'm going to log in as an AT vendor, AT provider. This is an account that has already been given permissions. And here we can see that I have my assistive technologies entries. These are my technologies, the one that I, as the vendor, have decided to upload. We can create new ones here. We simply add a name, and we select here which cognitive support categories the AT offers. Which, for example, the AT might support the user in reading web pages or in writing and understanding. These are standardized categories that we have taken from guidelines in cognitive accessibility. And then once you upload your solution, you can upload descriptions in several languages, as you can see here. So at the moment, as I said, only English, German, and Swedish are allowed. And you add descriptions, a short description, and a long description, and an image. And once you and also the types, right? So for example, this one here, we said that it's a browser extension for both the Chrome browser and the Edge browser, and we could add a new extension. So for example, we could say it's also a mobile application, and we say that it's for Android, that is free, and we also add a download link, so the user knows where to find it directly. And then once we upload it, the user can search it. So we can see here the result. This is the short description, this is the image, the support, and so on. And here the user can get clear instructions on how to install it, for example. And it also tells you whether, for example, I'm using Firefox at the moment, so it detects that I'm using Firefox, and it tells me that this download is compatible with my browser. So we saw it from the system from the point of view of the AT provider. Now let's take a look at the point of view of the user. So anyone can create an account. End users don't need special permissions for that. And the users can set up their support needs in two different manners. We have a traditional form, and we have an experimental mode, which is based on a game. I'm gonna introduce both manners very quickly. The traditional form is very simple. I'm gonna show it to you by logging now as a normal target user. Sorry. So I'm gonna log in as a person with some sort of cognitive disability. If I update my preferences, if I then have my preferences, this would be the first thing that the system asks me. So I'm gonna tell the system that I want to create my profile by answering questions. And this is very simple. The system simply asks me if I need reading support, if I need writing support, and so on. And depending on this, my profile is created. Very straightforward, very simple, but of course, as we said before, many users don't know which support they need, right? Especially users with a more profound cognitive disability. So we have a second kind of way of creating a profile, which is based on a game. This is experimental. We are still testing it. We are adapting it, and we hope will be useful at some point. And the game, as we can see here, it has several stages. I don't know if you can hear the game, but yeah, it's not that important. So for example, for focusing, we employ this game where the user has to find the coin. It becomes harder. So at the beginning, it's easy, and the better you are, the harder it gets. I'm gonna fail on purpose, so it becomes harder. So it becomes easier, sorry. As you can see now, it becomes easier. Now there are only 3 cups, before there were 4. And yeah, I'm gonna fail again. Let's just press a random one. Then it becomes even easier. And this is the last stage of this game. This is for detecting the focus needs of the users. And then this is for detecting the reading supports, the reading needs of the user. So the cat says something, and I have to click what the cat is saying. And if I make many mistakes, then the next games will be skipped. But if I make everything correct, then we get a different game. This is again for detecting the reading needs of the user. Again, now this game detects the writing support needs of the user. So we see how the cat says a sentence, and we have to input it, and the system detects how fast and with how many errors I'm able to write the input sentence. So I'm gonna make 0 mistakes. And And with this, the system would assume that I don't need any reading or writing support because I input everything in the correct manner. And now the next game is for mathematics support. So the user has to count. I know, sorry, yeah, this is for mathematics support. So the user has to also remember how many people are in the house. And it also has to make some counting. I didn't count the persons, so. And okay, and there are many games like this. I'm gonna stop now because the game is quite long. But in the end, by following this minigame approach, we try to detect, instead of asking the user explicitly, we try to detect in a more engaging manner and in a more autonomous manner for users, which kind of needs they need. And then the last component of Buddy is personalized recommendations. So once a user has created his or her profile and we know which support needs they have, they can get recommendations of tools already input into the system by AT providers. The reasoning behind the recommendations is quite complex. It is based on recommender systems used in e-commerce like Amazon, and we also mix it with a more domain-aware system. So we combine two scores, one that matches directly, which is called the knowledge-based score, that matches directly assistive technologies to users using the domain knowledge of the system. And then we use a data-based score, which is based on collaborative filtering in which a user can rate tools, as you can see here. And then the system will find users similar to you according to how you rated and how other users rated ATs. And then by finding users similar to you, it will recommend to you AT entries liked by users like you. And we combine these two scores and we recommend AT entries to users based on a final score that combines these two scores. And in the end, we get a list of recommendations. So if I log in again with the same person as before, we can see here, find a tool for you. If I click here, we can see my recommendations based on these two things. And if I add something to my favorites because I like it, then I can rate it here. And depending on these ratings and depending on my support needs and depending on the support needs of the AT entries, they will be recommended to me. So in this manner, the user can, the user doesn't have to do too many things. The user can simply play a game and then the system will recommend things for him or for her in a very automatic manner. And this also gets the solutions closer to users. So the solutions that if you are a native provider, it also advertises your ATs to the target audience that really needs it. So in conclusion, we aim to bridge this gap between end users and AT providers by first of all having a repository of technologies, allowing users to search for these tools or to get recommendations in an autonomous manner without the need for third persons, recommending them suitable needs using artificial intelligence, again, automatically, ensuring the quality of the AT entries by using a moderated workflow, by offering them clear installation and download instructions, and also by offering them a feedback mechanism that may be also useful for AT providers if they can see the ratings of their AT entries in the system. And yeah, this is all by now. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions, I will be happy to answer them.
Yes, we have here many questions, Tomás. The first one is, are the game targeted to a specific range of age?
That is a good question. At the moment, no, because we don't really, the age is really not important. What it is important is the support needs of the person. So two persons of very different ages, they can have the same kind of support needs. And that's what matters here. which tools can support you regardless of age. Maybe age could be an important factor, but we haven't considered it at the moment.
Okay, another question is as user that want to look for assistive technology. As I saw, you can use the system directly without logging or with logging, and then you get access to the recommender system and the game and other things. Could you please show us how to look for assistive technology without being logged?
Yes.
Yeah, this is a question that people ask.
So if you are logged out, you simply have access to the full catalog. So you can simply search either for a specific tool by inputting something in the search box. You can search in maybe only your language and in every language. And you can search for, this is a mistake here. You can search also for support needs. So we can search for all tools that offer reading support, for example. And here we get the answers. But of course, if you are logged out, then you don't get any personalized results. You only get a general list of 80 sorted randomly. So it's not that useful, of course.
Yeah, sure. Another thing that people ask is what type of cognitive disability are you taking in consideration? I think from advanced settings, we can see the types exactly.
Yeah, exactly. We don't categorize the cognitive disabilities themselves. We only categorize tools and users according to their support needs, which are these ones here. They are very broad, but we found them that at the beginning we started with a more fine-grained approach, but then it was really, really difficult to create the user accounts. Yeah. Because then the games were impossible to design, or the forms were super long and users were what we want is as many users as possible. We want people to create their account in an easy, straightforward manner, even if maybe this means that the recommendations might not be super fine-grained, but still we think it's more beneficial to have more users and to have more interactions and to have the system more populated and more alive.
A thing that I would like to highlight here to the audience is if you see this approach is an inclusive approach because they don't categorize user as their disabilities, but using their needs. So a user that need reading support or writing support or math calculation support. This is more inclusive that say, hey, I have a student that is cognitive disabled because he cannot make a simple calculation. So no, it's much better approaching and this problem that you may have, saying, okay, I have a student that need calculation support. This is more polite, more approachable. This is a thing that I would like you to take a very good takeaway from this course. Mind the language. This is the base, the foundation for everything else. So let how we can call the users, try to make this as inclusive as possible. People that are able instead of people disabled or invalid. Not there are no invalid people, but people that need something more, something special. There is no such as a normal student, as I hear. Just people that needs something different from others, and everybody needs something more in one specific field than another. So try to look to the problems you have in a more inclusive way. Another thing that people go into the business again, are asking is Buddy an open source project?
It will be. It will be. I think at the moment the repository is closed, but we will open it after the project is finished. We will. There is also a project website, which is just buddyproject.eu, and here in the this is not the repository. This is the project website. You can see a list of news, and here you can be up to date in the project if you're interested. And yeah, we plan on opening up the source code.
Mm-hmm. Could you please paste this URL to the access to this place? Another thing that I would like to highlight to you is, I don't know if you have seen how many diversity, the big diversity. This project only focuses on cognitive disability, but there are so many different needs on this bucket that we call cognitive disability. Because of this, it's not possible to make, I don't know, how many personas do you need to cover everything? This is not possible. That is what Andrea meant when you have to be flexible. You have to maybe do a research on how what student do you have in the university, and from this, okay, let's make 3 groups and try to categorize and make some stereotype to narrow and start the service, build up the service in a not so large group of personas. This is another thing that I would like to highlight. And another point is someone asked in another presentation that some students that come to the university for first time, they don't even know the assistive technologies that are available to them. So you may have to train them. Of course, this is a thing that is under your responsibility. You have to show them what are their possibilities, because you have the proper assistive technology. Here we have some people that only can move the mouth and the eyes. Someday someone present them an assistive technology to fly quadricopters, drones. They were amazed. They were almost crying when they found that they can control a drone and fly a drone just with using their mouth. You have to discover them to them. You have to teach how to use that assistive technology to follow their courses. And also from this project, we can think about that many users, many students won't be able to express their needs. And you have to assess, as Andrea said, their needs. But many of them, they will tell you, hey, I need such or such thing. But when the course start, you may find out that these students have other needs, or because of your experience. And in the interview with the student, you can say, hey, you may need such or such assistive technology because you are gonna face these barriers. Maybe this student that we talk about, the student that want to study chemistry and is a wheelchair user, he don't know that there are some safety measures to enter in a laboratory. You have to show this to them, and this is a barrier. This is a obstacle they have. Let's tackle this, and let's make this work. So it's quite complex, and the takeaway is you have to be super flexible with these things. I don't know if you have any other question. Train them, you mean pre-training, okay, when they are gonna start the studies. You will have to interview them to assess their needs, and maybe you have to train them on how to use, I don't know, they may is a blind user that know how to read Braille, but in his life has touched a Braille display, okay, or use a tactile graph. Then you have to teach them, of course. This answer your question? I guess yes. Okay. Okay. So any other question for Tomás, or something that you have think about, or no?
Valentin, please.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Have you in computer science some trainings that have relation with these sides of computer science? Where there are access, how to develop software that is with accessibility.
Accessible.
Yeah, exactly. Is there some modules or some for students in computer science specialities, or in master specialities, or license, or
yes, in the engineering field, not only in computer science, but another bachelor's and master here in the JKU. There is a subject that is assistive technologies. And there you study the the current assistive technologies, the development of these technologies, and also a very big part of the module is on how to develop accessible software, the interfaces. The students are given some assignment on producing some very basic websites following the WCAG rules that we have heard about in previous blocks of the meeting of the training. And yes, there is no specific for producing software, but producing tools that are accessible. We have subject devoted to that, and some teachers are pushing to make this subject obligatory, compulsory for engineering students.
As for web technologies, for example.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
But this web technologies is the one that we can see more often because they are quite close to us. But there are a lot of other technologies that must be accessible, must be yeah, we can think about hand tools or machines or everything. All of these need some level of accessibility.
For example, contability, finance softwares.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Don't have to be websites, but also mobile applications or
Exactly.
laptop, the desktop applications.
Are
Of
very
course,
accessible for the end users
exactly,
that have not capabilities or abilities.
exactly.
Okay.
Our colleagues from the University of Athens show us, I think it was Alexandros Pino, how the operative system Windows approach this in a very, very inclusive way, serving you with assistive tools. That is a very good sample that you need the accessibility everywhere, because everybody is going to benefit on this.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. Anything else? So we must have an idea about all the assistive technology to be able to be effective. Okay. All the assistive technology to know about the latest development. It will be great if someone who in your university can be updated. But this is a lot of work, because every day we have new assistive technology. You can look around using Google, and it's quite impressive the big amount of assistive technology available in the market. Yeah, and keep experimenting with them, and maybe one day a student show up and is perfect for him or for her. Yes, unfortunately, Linux, yeah, the graphic interface is maybe not as inaccessible as it should be. It's true. It's true. I think in matter of accessibility, Windows have improved a lot in the latest time. But yeah, well, Macintosh, it was from the very beginning. They have a very, very good accessibility also with the phones. Okay, well, seems not to be more questions. Tomás, thank you very much for your presentation and for your nice work with Buddy project.
Yeah, thank you for giving me the chance of presenting it. It was great to be here.
Okay, people, then we are gonna make a
Ladies and